Hi, I'm Trent Bosch from Trent Bosch Tools, and today I want to tell you a little bit about my hollowing tools. I have both carbide and high-speed steel hollowing tools, and I want to talk about the differences and what I think about each one and when I would use each one. So the carbide cutters that we use on our tools are hunter cutters. The little hunter circular cup cutters are what we use. And these tools really do a really good job of cutting the material and getting a really nice clean cut. So they're just on the tip of the tool right there as you see. So that's the carbide version, held in by a small Torx head screw. Just so you know, this particular tool, it can be rotated several times to provide a nice sharp area for you to work. I usually rotate it 3 or 4 times throughout its life, which they can last for a very long time. So the high-speed steel tools have a high-speed steel cutter. And this cutter is ground at the specific angle, and again does a really good job of cutting and taking those shavings or taking that wood and removing it relatively quickly, and allows you to really do a good job inside there. So which one would I use in what situation? So the high-speed steel tool is kind of my go-to. It's what I started using when I first started turning. And I find that it's a little more friendly in a larger variety of materials. So say I'm turning a really hard wood sometime or a really soft wood, this tool just pretty much reacts the same no matter whether I'm in a harder or softer material. It just does what it's supposed to do. Where the carbide in a hard material can be a little more aggressive sometimes than I like. So I have to pay a little bit more of attention to the angle of approach with the carbide tools. Where the high-speed steel, I pretty much use it in the straight up orientation most of the time. The carbide cutters, I usually turn those over just slightly. So this is where the cutting side would be. And I usually rotate it just a little bit towards that material, between 5 and maybe 15 degrees over, and that makes it a lot more friendly. In some softer materials, I'll use it straight up and let it really do its job and cut that material out of there as fast as it can. Other differences is that the high-speed steel tools need to be sharpened. It's not a hard process to sharpen, but they do get dull and they need to be sharpened. Where these carbide cutters last many times longer than in between my sharpenings, and we rotate them to get a nice fresh sharp edge. They're so small and so delicate that we really can't sharpen them efficiently. So once it's used up, I replace it with a new cutter. The high-speed steel cutters are fairly I would say strong and not brittle, where carbide is relatively brittle. So if this high-speed steel cutter took a nosedive off my bed of my lathe for some reason, or off the bench, it would dull that cutter, but I could sharpen it up and it would be just fine. If the carbide piece hit the concrete floor, it would likely fracture or break this little carbide cutter, rendering it useless until I replaced it. Other things that are nice and not so nice about either one of them. The high-speed steel tips, they basically just make dust. It's a scraping tool, so when you're inside a hollow form, it's just going to generate a bunch of dust. Whereas the carbide cutters, they actually have a really nice keen edge, and they can create shavings. Depending on the size opening of your hollow form, I like shavings, but if I'm trying to go through a small opening, the shavings are a pain to get out of there. So again, some give and takes on both of these particular tools. I pretty much would always use the carbide tools. For me, when I'm working on a material that dulls my high-speed steel tools quickly, something with a lot of silica in it, a lot of people are turning resin type stuff. I've used both of these tools in resin. This one obviously just lasts a little bit longer because you have to sharpen the high-speed steel a little bit more. Overall, I really go back and forth, and I'm not sure if one is better than the other. It's nice to know the pros and the cons of each and make a decision for yourself that way. Hope this just gives you a little bit of insight into the high-speed steel versus carbide and helps you make your decision on which tools that you're gonna go for. Thanks for watching. Feel free to contact me with any questions you might have. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, and we'll see you sometime soon.